really want to honor and celebrate the contributions and the culture of our Indigenous peoples who have been in these lands for a very long time and still are. So thank you for joining me in really honoring and celebrating this day. If you don't mind, if you have one of those nasty little devices that you can talk on the phone on, take pictures, etc., be sure it is either off or in silent mode. And I like to do that even if I think, I'm sure I've put it on silent mode. Go ahead and check just to make sure. And you know what? The exits are, out the door you came in, and then off through the hallway and up. And also just want to mention this when we get started, but thank you in advance for helping make sure this is just a really safe and comfortable and respectful space. So we'll ask in the script once we start to refrain from applauding, booing, making noises. We just really find that just creates a better environment for everyone in which candidates can hear the question and you can hear all of them. And at the very end of the forum, I'll invite everyone to join in celebrating all of the candidates. So if you can hold your applause until then, that would be great. Joe, anything else? Okay. Then if you all are ready, I think we're ready. Great. Welcome to the City of Lafayette City Council Candidate Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Boulder County and Sister Carmen Community Center. My name is Elizabeth Crow. I am a proud member of the League of Women Voters of Boulder County, and I'm pleased to serve as your moderator for tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. For 105 years at the national level and 94 years here in Boulder County, the League has encouraged informed and active participation in government. The Sister Carmen Community Center provides comprehensive basic needs services and resources to the most vulnerable residents in East Boulder County. Through their family-centered programming, Sister Carmen promotes health, safety, well-being, and economic stability for people experiencing hardship. Neither the League nor Sister Carmen support or oppose political candidates or parties. And now onto the forum. The Lafayette City Council consists of 7 members who are elected on a nonpartisan basis in odd-numbered years. Terms are staggered, so the council always consists of experienced members. 4 seats must be filled each election year. The 3 councilors with the highest number of votes serve 4-year terms, and the 4th serves a 2-year term. 10 candidates are running for these 4 seats. The forum for tonight will be as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. We will then begin with questions that have been submitted from the audience, including those that have been submitted by the Lafayette community online prior to tonight. Audience members may submit questions by writing them on index cards available from our volunteers. And thank you. Please raise your hand if you need a card, a pencil, or a pen. Once you have written your question, please catch the attention of our volunteers and give the card to them. Questions should be addressed to all candidates rather than directing a question to only 1 or 2 particular candidates. And I ask that you submit your questions very early in the forum so we can try to kind of group them and get as many answered as possible. Our screening team here will provide and possibly combine several similar questions into one question on that topic. And we'll also ask the candidates to answer as many questions as time permits. In most instances, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. However, if we go longer than that, probably not shorter, I'll announce that at the front end, and our timekeepers will help notify you when it's time to wrap it up. Again, to our audience members, please do not interrupt or disrupt the forum. This means refraining from clapping, booing, you wouldn't do that, or otherwise showing your approval or disapproval of any candidate. The candidates are seated in the order that they will appear on the general election ballot. And now for the opening statements and the questions. For the opening statements, we'll begin with candidate Gianola, and again, you'll all have 1 minute to respond. Please go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Adam Gianola. I've been a Lafayette resident for 19 years and a community volunteer for about half that time. In my day job, I'm an attorney for a small business. My priorities are community and sustainability. I focus on community because that's what we are. We're residents, we're volunteers, we're neighbors, we're artists, we're business owners, we're workers, we're parents and friends. And I think we want to preserve the character of our community and what makes Lafayette great. We welcome everyone and we strive to help each other out, even if we get cut off in traffic. I focus on sustainability because that just impacts so many parts of our lives, whether that's energy use, traffic, transportation, open space and wildlife, air quality. There's a lot of things that come under that umbrella. We want to leave the planet better than we found it.
Thank you. And candidate Arrington.
Hi, I'm Luke Arrington. I moved to Lafayette in 2013. One of the reasons was it was a small town, lots of open space. I mean, we liked the kind of trajectory that the city was going in. We've been here and will continue to be here for the foreseeable future. I have a 9 and a 14-year-old, and they go to school and bike around. They really enjoy everything that is Lafayette. A few years after I moved here, I got to start participating on the Open Space Advisory Committee, which I've been on for 8 years. And then the following year, I was able to be elected as the commissioner to the Urban Renewal Authority, which focuses on downtown, small businesses, the Old Town Project area. I mean, my background is in commercial real estate. That's what I help bring to the table. I've always wanted to volunteer and contribute. That's one of the reasons I'm up here and want to be part of City Council. I really just want to, contribute to the whole place that we call home.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Beryl. My pronouns are he, him, and él if you speak Spanish. I am a cis-het white male, but I've considered myself an ally for many years, including believing really strongly in reproductive rights, helping our minority communities, including our immigrants. Recently, I've learned more about how many fixed income folks we have living here in Lafayette who really need a voice on the council and need somebody to be speaking out for them. I was a high school teacher for 15 years, a little bit in Jefferson County, where I worked to develop an English for speakers of other languages program at Alameda International. And then I worked in Denver for 10 years, and I really learned the importance of leading with my values and wearing my heart on my sleeve and trying to do the right thing at every turn, and that is why I'm here running for council.
Thank you. Candidate Ryan.
First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and Sister Carmen's for putting this event together. I think it's great awareness for the community to really get a good idea of what the candidates are doing and thinking of. Personally, I've been involved in the community since 2011 and presently have a business located in town. Through the years, I've done a lot of volunteer work, and especially with the Chamber in supporting small business growth. I feel I can really help the council and the community with my business background in construction, manufacturing, imports, tariffs, and fiscal responsibility. I am very excited about being part of this election, and I will put all my time and effort to continue to be a voice of the people, representing Lafayette for the people.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you to our residents. Thank you, of course, to League of Women Voters and Sister Carmen Community Center. My name is Saul Tapia Vega, and I am a current member of City Council. One other group of folks that I want to thank is our city staff for being here. I see you in the back, and I know if you're watching us at home, it's thanks to our IT team, so thank you all so much for being here. My campaign is simple, and the reason I'm here is simple. It's because I want to continue the work I've been doing over the last 2 years. I'm proud of everything I've been able to achieve over the last 2 years as a member of the City Council in making our city more affordable, in being responsible with our growth, and supporting our small businesses, as well as representing every member of our community, and really just building a resilient and sustainable future for the city of Lafayette. So I'm very, very proud of the work I've done over the last 2 years, and I'm ready to keep that work going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Glenn?
Hi, I'm Rob Glenn. Again, as you heard other candidates say, just thankful for this platform and opportunity to be able to communicate as candidates to share our thoughts. I always bring up first, like, I'm from New Orleans, and one of the reasons I bring that up is when my wife and dog and I came here to Colorado, we were passionate in what we found here in Lafayette. It just reminds us so much of what we loved back home. Culture, diversity, inclusiveness, and then also just the historic preservation. That's key components to what I see future opportunities for the city. I've had a lot of feedback around our vacant commercial spaces and the redevelopment we can do to bring amenities to the community. That also brings more revenue for the city to give back to our citizens. And then also topping that off, I'm a local realtor, and if there's somebody who's really in touch with the affordability and the struggles people have in affordable housing in Lafayette, I can help that.
Thank you. And candidate Bollier?
Hi, good evening. I'm Kyle Bollier. Thank you as well to the League of Women Voters and to Sister Carmen's. It's a privilege to be here with the League. This is a group I learned about when I was a child in homeschool from my mom, which is also why I'm here. Not because she forced me to run for local office, although she was encouraging, but because I learned a sense of justice and activism from her, whether it was the ills of apartheid in South Africa in the late 80s, early 90s, or with what's going on today. She will be at the No Kings protest this Saturday in North Carolina, and I hope all of you in this room and watching, and hope everyone on the council will join us for the first No Kings protest, or sorry, the second No Kings protest here in Lafayette. I think defending our democracy starts at home. This is a scary time in this country. You mentioned that the League is nonpartisan. Support for women's rights and women voting feels partisan these days. So I hope to bring my experience in national security policy with USAID, the FBI, to defend women's rights here in Lafayette, defend our community, make us more resilient to the economic and political shocks to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen?
Hi, my name is Anne Marie Jensen, and thank you to the sponsors of this. I want to say I'm a she, her, and inclusivity is really important to me. I have Spanish-speaking family members who are from other countries. I have LGBTQ folks in my family, and that inclusivity matters to me. I was a small business owner for 20 years, representing nonprofits in the government affairs world and advocating for them. And since I've lived in Lafayette for 11 years, I've been on the Planning Commission, Livable Lafayette Task Force, the East Lafayette Advisory Committee, the Land Use Working Group, the WOW Board, and now I'm on the Board of Habitat. I want to take all of those skills and background and put them to use for the city of Lafayette. I have retired from working, and I have the time and energy and experience to make that work.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos?
Good evening. My name is Crystal Gallegos, and I've been a Lafayette resident for about 10 years. I'm a current city councilor, and the past 2 years have flown right by, and I am not ready to say goodbye yet. I'd love to show the city what I'm capable of as an experienced councilor. By day, I'm a substitute teacher and mom of 4, and my priorities for this upcoming term are responsible growth, maintaining our community's character, supporting our small businesses, and encouraging new businesses to take a look at our vacant commercial spaces. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And candidate Watson?
Hi, my name's Mike Watson. I'm up here because I think, like a lot of you, I think there's something wrong with our democracy right now. And if we don't do something quickly, I don't think we're going to have it for very much longer. And that's pretty high stakes for coming into a city council. I recognize that. But I started thinking about this 19 years ago as a 23-year-old kid. I just gotten back from Iraq, and I started to question what I was seeing in our country. And specifically, there seems to be a difference between what we say our values are and what our actions show our values to be. And I say that if we believe in something, I mean, if we believe that the environment is worth protecting, let's actually do it. Let's actually do that here in our community. Let's build something that's worth saving, and not just simply pay lip service to a bunch of ideas and have endless committee meetings. Let's get out there and solve these problems, starting at home and then take it nationally if we have to. Thank you.
Thank you all for those opening statements. Now we'll start with the questions from community members and audience members. And we'll start this first question with candidate Arrington. It is a question from our partner for the forum tonight, Sister Carmen. Lafayette. I'm sorry, thank you for reminding me. Let's actually do 90 seconds for this one. Lafayette used to be considered an affordable option for housing in Boulder County, and this is no longer the case. We've lost many families who have had to move out of our community due to the affordable housing crisis. How do you think Lafayette has been addressing this issue? And what ideas do you have or solutions that you would advocate for, including for families?
So affordable housing, I mean, this is a big question. This is not just Lafayette's issue. When I moved here in 2013, we were in the kind of path of growth. And honestly, if I were to try to buy here again, I don't know that I would be able to. There's not a huge variety. I mean, we live in a single family home, but if we were looking to rent or buy a condo or take, steps forward to, home ownership, and I don't know that exists currently. I do know with Willoughby Corner, and they're attempting to make efforts there. I do think density in the right places is one potential answer along corridors that make sense. I do think apartments and the mobile homes and those types of communities and areas give options to people. So, making sure that those, don't disappear and go away or get redeveloped or, kind of put constraints on them via, code considerations or, not allowing ADUs. I think those give people options so that if they want to live here, they can. If they work here, they want to be here, then they have that choice. Right now, I don't know that there's a whole lot of choices. It's something we have to work on. I think the city wants to do better in that regard, but I think options and density in the right places is the place for us to start. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
Affordability is clearly an issue facing our community. Housing can be considered, I consider it, a human right, and we need to be addressing this if we're doing right by the people who live here in Lafayette and the people who will be coming to Lafayette. Our city is growing. The entire Front Range is growing. That is not news to anyone. And we have to face the reality that we need to do this responsibly. So certainly having a variety of housing options, I believe, is helpful to the affordability crisis, if you will. I think we need some, in some cases, creative solutions, in some cases, hardline solutions. I'm open to rent freezing. I would love to see a city-level participation in funding Section 8 housing. I think that we can increase the percentage required for affordable housing when we do have large developments coming in. The city of Boulder is up to 25% requirement on developments that are greater than 4 structures. So I don't think we need to go that high, but I think we need to seriously consider those types of requirements and making sure that everybody has the opportunity, especially people who work here, to earn that living wage and be able to sustain a comfortable life here.
Thank you. Candidate Ryan.
Well, affordable housing is a very big issue in our community because it is expensive to live here in Lafayette. And if I am on city council, I will definitely monitor every area of it to make sure there's new programs and new affordability and follow through with it. One thing that I do feel as on the state level is Proposition LL, which is healthy school meals for all. We have an opportunity to vote to grab Tabor money and put it back into the school system and to feed our kids healthier meals, better nutrition. So personally, I think everybody should vote that way to put money back into our community for our students.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Amazing, thank you. So I'm going to start this question off by saying that this is absolutely a crisis. We have an affordability crisis in the city of Lafayette, and the question kind of addressed something that's been happening in our city over the last decade, really, which is that families, unfortunately, are moving out. Working families can no longer afford to live in our city, and I know that firsthand. Everyone I graduated high school with is no longer in this city. I was fortunate enough to go to the amazing Centaurus High School here in Lafayette, and all of the people I graduated with are gone. And it's not because they wanted to leave, it's because they couldn't afford to stay here. This is just, it's gone too far. We need to have comprehensive solutions for working families in this city because it's just unaffordable. But I'll go about it in two ways. One, we do have to address affordable housing, and we've done a lot so far. I think Lafayette has kind of positioned itself as a leader in this space. We can look at Willoughby Corner, which is the largest affordable housing project of its kind across the state of Colorado. We can look at our affordable housing fund. We can look at projects such as La Luna, which is the Mountain View Mobile Home Park that the city gave a 99-year forgivable loan to in order for them to kind of set their price of living and set their costs going forward. So things like this need to continue. We need to keep putting our money where our mouth is in terms of affordable housing. But for me, it's about affordability as a whole. We need comprehensive solutions. The cost of childcare is also $2,000 a month per child in Boulder County. It's not just about housing. For me, affordability is a comprehensive issue that doesn't require one-size-fits-all. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Glenn.
So you just hit on some great topics. I think there's two things you got to separate in when we talk about affordable housing. You have rental versus ownership. When we talk about rental, Willoughby Corner somewhat covers both of this, and it is a great project where we need more units within Lafayette. It was smartly done. Water rights were brought to it, or it wasn't using Lafayette's water rights. It's efficient, and there's some controlled rent in there, and then there's also some opportunity with townhomes and ownerships. With that said, even with those rents, they're still not fully affordable, and when you get into what actually controls that ability, it's the AMI, so the average median income, that's decided by the state and the county. So it gets a lot deeper than just Lafayette itself. But I will throw that out there. What he stated, a lot of, when you talk to workers within Lafayette, they say they can't afford being here. And that's where kind of the rental issues come into play. ADUs can assist in that, incentivizing people, especially in Old Town and wherever they have land. Adding dwelling units can be a big proponent to that. The ownership piece, one of the things the city did recently was buy 2 Boulder Housing Authority properties, and they were going to get them repaired, and then there's another regional authority that'll be setting the pricing for the sale of those, which can help. But ownership is difficult across Colorado as a whole, not just here in Lafayette, as I'm pretty knowledgeable on that, and know the woes of buying a home in Colorado.
Thank you. And candidate Bollier.
This is a tremendously difficult topic because there are no easy solutions, right? You build 10,000 new housing units, all of a sudden you've radically changed what Lafayette is and what makes it special. You tear down our beautiful open space to build more houses, all of a sudden, where does all the wildlife go? And we don't have those buffers against wildfire. So there's no easy solution here. So I think I'll talk a little bit about philosophy and really agree with a lot that has been shared. And also with Anne Marie, I'm going to steal your thunder because she's going to talk about inclusionary housing ordinances, and I'm a huge fan, so you don't have to talk about that. But I think taking a step back, like Lafayette has changed a lot, just as all of Boulder County, all of the Front Range, all of the state of Colorado, right? Radical changes past 10 years. Which in a way is good because people want to live here. There's jobs here, there's opportunities here. But we are in this very difficult moment where what gives, right? We are suing the state right now because they want to add many thousands of housing units, and we're like, that's too many. But then we say, how do we add more housing opportunities here? For me, I really think we need to explore areas where we build up. We have a height limit in town. No one wants a 10-story building on public road. But are there areas around major corridors, as has been said, say 287, or others that we could explore building up and in order to get more residences that way? Is it also possible to invest in a bit more bus rapid transit and public transportation so that residents can get around a little bit more swiftly? And lastly, I know there's efforts ongoing for zoning reform to allow different mixed-use housing for folks to meet them where they are in different moments. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Jensen.
So I've been working on affordable housing for 25 years, and it is complex. And it is also, as Saul mentioned, related to other things, livable wage, childcare. It's unaffordable here. So, but there are a laundry list of things, and Lafayette has done very well. We have the highest percentage of affordable housing of any city in Boulder County. We haven't quite achieved our goal of 12%, but we are on our way. And we've done some really good things, and Willoughby Corner is one of them. And there are people here who served on the advisory board with me to help make that the asset that it is. And inclusionary housing is important, but we only have a few large parcels left in Lafayette. So that's not going to get us a lot of housing. We need to look at infill development and redevelopment. We need to look at things like helping folks who live in mobile home parks buy their mobile home parks. We need a diversity of housing types, and I agree that home ownership is really important. One of the things we haven't looked at is a land trust, and whether or not we can partner with a land trust to help buy some of the land so we can get the housing built more effectively. And I agree with some folks around here who have said that we should target our rental for people at 60% area median income and below, because the market is already taking care of things above that.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So this is a great question, and I just wanted to start it off by saying, if it wasn't for the generosity of one of my family members, I couldn't afford to live here. So I have a family member who owns a couple of properties in town and is renting to me under market value so that I could have a great place to live with my family. So I think we do need to continue the great work that we are doing. We've done great with Willoughby Corner. It is only the beginning. Eventually there will be that phase 2 and homes for purchases. And I do think we need to continue the great work behind ADUs. I think this is another way to bring more people into the community at a housing rate that most people can afford. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
Thank you, ma'am. I moved here in 2015. I lived in 5 different rental properties for 5 years. I was on public assistance while I was going to grad school. I worked at a low-paying startup to kind of hone my skills a little bit after I graduated. In 2020, I was lucky enough to land a good job, and using the help of the GI Bill, I was able to buy a place in town. I'm amazingly fortunate to be able to live in a community like this. When I was renting, though, there wasn't a lot of help coming from the city. I had a few wannabe slumlords as landlords, and there wasn't anything that any place in the city that Boulder had some place where a tenant could call to report like hostile action from their landlord. Lafayette doesn't have that. I think to this day they still don't. The other side of this is that this is not a problem that's being inflicted on us from the top down. This is one that we're kind of creating ourselves. Like behind every single like unaffordable house, there's a landlord who just makes the decision to rent at market rate. And we know from numerous studies that the market rate is being determined by algorithms, by Zillow and other like large rental corporations, and that it's frankly unsustainable for most working families. And if we're gonna really wanna tackle this problem, really wanna solve it, we're gonna have to dig in and eventually maybe, anyway, thank you, sorry.
Okay. And Candidate Ginola.
Thank you. I mean, everybody else has already said all the ideas that we can come up with, so I'm not sure what else I can add, but I'll say, we do have a lot of tools in our tool belt. Willoughby Corner is an amazing development, even if some of the units there really are market rate and aren't really affordable housing. I think we need to protect what affordable housing we already have, and we can do that through revisions to the land use code. For example, we can protect our mobile homes from being redeveloped. We can help our mobile homes kind of buy their property and create a cooperative kind of housing development. I think we need to think about, creative solutions for incentivizing developers to provide additional affordable housing. How can we do that? I don't think anything is really off the table at this point. The mixed types of housing, I think, is something we need to think about. And really the idea for me is the infill, the ADUs, the kind of different housing types. We don't have a small tiny home park, but maybe that's something that we can try to figure out how to create. It really is a broad problem with lots of solutions that we can try. We can see what works.
Thank you all for the first round. For the next question, we'll start with candidate Barrel. We'll do 60 seconds or 1 minute for this question. How would you support policies or funding that remove barriers to arts participation, especially for underrepresented communities in Lafayette?
Fully support them. I think that we have to prioritize where our funding goes. Sometimes we act and talk around city government as if there is no funding, and it's simply a matter of priorities. I'm a deep believer in the arts, in a creative outlet, both for the individual good, it feels good, it helps us get through our day, it's good for our mental health. But I think in a time of facing fascism in our country, creation is a radical act, and it is absolutely important to do everything we can to foster through public programs, at the public library, at the rec center, in schools, for our minority kids, as well as all of our kids, to get them creating, feeling good about themselves, and putting their ideas into the world.
Thank you. Candidate Ryan.
Well, I'm for policies or funding arts programs, and if you look with our town right now, we actually have a few programs that are funded by and a co-op with the Community Arts Hub, which is very involved with our community on the arts side. I think we need to continue to do that. We should speak to them because they have they have a finger on the pulse, and they know exactly where the community is and where we should go as far as arts and reaching the community in another way.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Thank you so much. So first and foremost, Lafayette is an art city. I don't think you have to it's really easy to figure out. You just have to walk down Public Road and you can kind of see all the amazing murals and sculptures that we have. I have been lucky enough to, for the last year, as a city council member, I have been the liaison to the Lafayette Cultural Arts Board, as well as the Public Art Committee. So I have been part of key conversations that have been talked about the art that is on display within our city and about the future of art within our city. This is something that I wholeheartedly love. I love the arts. It gives us a real sense of community, and for members of our community, for members of our city that come from communities and come from backgrounds that are largely disenfranchised or underrepresented, it really gives them a sense of belonging. So art is something that is near and dear to my heart and something that I will always push and always vote for when I'm a member of council. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Glenn.
Nothing but positives about policies for funding and arts. He mentioned the two committees. I had the opportunity of going to the open house a month ago where I got to meet with these two different boards and commissions, and one of those was specifically prioritized about grant writing and opportunities for our local artists and those opportunities. So there's already kind of some great action going towards that. The other group, as he talked about, focuses on the different art installations, which you can walk up and down so many parts of our community. There's new murals left and right, and the beauty of some of these murals and how they support the history of Lafayette and the community and the diversity that Lafayette and the importance of that. So again, I would nothing but support policies or funding that go towards that.
Thank you. And Candidate Believer.
Thank you. Unfortunately, once a theater kid, always a theater kid, so also a big proponent of the arts. I think listening to folks from the community in terms of what access they desire, everyone has mentioned the tremendous art along Public Road, but there are many other pockets of our town that would really benefit from a bit more investment and diversification of art. So identifying pockets, listening to folks where they would like some arts investment, I think would be a really key element. we're going to be refurbishing the Arapahoe Theater in the not distant future, so that's really exciting. Something I mentioned at our last forum is how to use the arrival of the Sundance Film Festival as a forcing mechanism for us to increase our investment in the arts and also to really lean into Lafayette as a brand. We have a strong regional brand, but outside of Boulder County and the Front Range, no one really knows Lafayette. But if we're going to have new artists, tourists coming into Boulder for the film festival, how can we draw them and their dollars over here? And a more diverse arts enterprise would really help. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
So I volunteer at the Lafayette Arts Hub from time to time, and my granddaughter is actively in the theater program as a theater kid. And I really value that program, and I do know they have some scholarships for lower income folks. And I know that there are other programs throughout the community that have scholarships. But we could look at that. We could determine if we're meeting the need, if we're turning people away, if the activities we have available are available to everyone, and can we be more inclusive? But I do foresee that in the near future, we're going to see both state and federal cuts that are going to impact our community. And back when that happened at the state level, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more, we did something called a backseat budgeter, where we allowed people to try to make a budget and see what they would cut. And I think we need to involve our community as we go forward, because I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we may have to trade off certain things.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So sadly, we live in a world where education budgets are being cut all over the state. So sadly, many districts look to the arts, and that's where they cut first. So it is important to have a creative outlet outside of school that children can go to. So I think here we have our arts and education program, where some of our even local Lafayette school teachers have requested funds through the city to help move their projects forward. I'd love to continue that program. Sadly, funds are limited, and we receive more application requests than we have funds allowed, but I think we do the best we can with what we have. I love the murals around town, and something that makes me excited this time of year is seeing all of the Halloween windows on our small businesses.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
So I don't think that culture and art is necessarily a top-down endeavor. I think that this is something that humans just naturally do. You get out of their way, you give them the space to be creative, and people will be creative. I'm sunburned from walking around town so much over the past couple days. And one of the things that has struck me, whether I'm in a rich neighborhood or a poor neighborhood or anywhere, is how much creativity people have taken with their yards, their windows, the way they decorate their house, the little sculptures and the gnome gardens that people put out. So I don't think we have remotely any problem with artistic expression in our community. The question is, why is the sort of mainstream art that is in public places, why is that dominated by kind of more of a top-down approach? Perfect example of this, there's a pocket park that's being put in on public road right now that's at a cost of $1 million. And that's definitely something, we have enough gardeners and creative people in our community to where we could take charge of that ourselves. Do you want to build culture? That's how we build culture.
Thank you. Candidate Ginola.
Thank you. I mean, we do have an amazing arts community in Lafayette. It really is one of the things that makes Lafayette special. I've been supporting the arts community through my work in sustainability with Arts Lafayette and the Arts and Cultural Resources Department. I'm also a member of the board of directors of Kaleidoscope, a local art incubator, helping local artists have a place to create and grow. I think the city can prioritize, art funding directly within the city budget, but I think we can apply creative solutions throughout the community. We've got a lot of kind of art-based businesses in town. We've got a lot of kind of arts community centers. I'd love to put together some scholarships from some of these groups. I think the community would come together and really fund this if we asked them to.
Thank you. The next question will start with Candidate Barrow. Oh, I'm so sorry. Candidate Harrington, please go ahead.
Thank you. What he mentioned about Kaleidoscope, I mean, it was something that is important. It really does kind of fuel artists because it's not a one and done type thing. On Lura, art, removal of blight, prevention of blight, that was a big that was our focus. I mean, and Art Downtown on South Public is a really key component to that. I mean, it gives character. I mean, we like the diverse and eclectic nature of our old town, and we lean into that. I really hope that now that, the Urban Renewal Authority is, sunset and the DDA is going to be taken over, that they make that a priority too, because I'd hate to see those things fade. But, funding for that is important. I'm always in favor of it when it's available. Shouldn't be the first thing that gets cut. It really should be something that makes our town. It gives us our character. You can't manufacture that character. It's just there, and you don't want to let it die.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with candidate Ryan. What is your position? We'll also do this for 60 seconds. No? Thank you, though. 60 seconds for the next question. What is your position on the proposed annexations, such as 119th and Baseline, Arapahoe, and US 287? How do you approach decisions like these that often have competing priorities, such as open space, affordable development, traffic, etc.?
Well, I'm very strong about open space and believe in it. I think it's really important for our community to continue to save our open space. It makes a lot of sense in many areas. Besides wildlife, it's definitely really good for fire mitigation and other areas that do make a difference. I do feel that you're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, and as city council, I definitely would have to study it and look at it to really see which direction the residents want to go. Because really, at the end of the day, I represent the community. It's not my decision.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Yes. So first and foremost, I just want to say that as a sitting member of City Council and as someone who hopes to continue my time on City Council, I cannot publicly speak on any of the annexations. Actually, all of us have been warned against this, so I won't speak to the annexations in particular, but I will speak to my campaign and what I want to do and what I've been doing, which is responsible growth. I think our city is not adverse to growth, but that is for every city in the Front Range, and that's for every city across this state. But when we grow, we need to do it responsibly, and that means reaching out to our community, seeing what our community needs. A community-driven approach to not only fit our needs, but to fit our future. We want to build a sustainable and resilient Lafayette. We want to build a Lafayette that fits our needs today, but also fits our needs in the future. And yes, this means looking into open space. Yes, this means looking into pretty much everything across the board that we have now is the way it is. And that small town feel that we have is because our council has done an incredible job of already making sure that when we grow, we do it responsibly. That's one of the tenets of my campaign, and it's something that I hope to continue doing as I go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Glenn.
I appreciate you kicking off, because there's the forefront, there's a lot going on when it comes time to those annexations and information. But we'll say in general, I am humongously pro open space. I had the opportunity to go on an open space tour with the chair recently, and there's a lot of beautiful areas that I didn't even realize were there. So that's where my thought is, but even if you go to my website to learn more about my running and platform, it's really important as we make smart growth. We do need additional growth in units, as we heard it talked about, affordable housing. And there's never perfect places for that, but we're going to need to be very smart on where we do that. We talked about great ideas on redeveloping our already vacant spaces, and then also dwelling units, tiny homes, and mobile home parks. These are all sources to help towards that larger goal of focus on sustainable, smart growth.
Thank you. And Candidate Bollier.
Echoing Rob's thanks of Saul for hitting the piece on what we've been admonished not to get into. So I'll just talk about philosophically. Very much agree on the priority of protecting open space. That's what makes Lafayette special. But we do need to explore how we grow and invest. And I agree that infill is a key element to prioritize. For me, I'm really interested in resilience, and some of that resilience comes from keeping defensible space around where people live, and that could be open space, it could be broad areas. Coming back to a good chunk of Nederland burned down last week, it's a miracle that the fire didn't spread further. We're coming up on 4 years after the Marshall Fire. We've had a lot of rain lately, but we are a vulnerable community to peri-urban wildfires. And so thinking about how we can really invest in resilience, it would affect any decision I made on annexation or another business investment. And then lastly, coming back to a point that's been raised earlier about how many workers who work for the city cannot afford to live here. So that needs to be front and center. We want our labor to be able to thrive and live within Lafayette rather than having to commute. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
So there is a natural tension between preserving open land and building. We can't do both of those things. And I think our Open Space Board has done a good job of identifying key parcels that have wetlands or wildlife or other natural elements that they want to preserve. And I have a lot of respect for that work. But as Saul said, we need to grow smart. Affordable housing continues to be a problem. We got to find a place for it, but sprawl is not the answer. And moving towards the edges of town is sort of the definition of sprawl. And so to the extent that we can redevelop and develop infill, I think that's better off. And we can be smart and do more mixed use development so that people can get out of their cars.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So I'm also a sitting council member, so I can't comment specifically on those specific parcels that were mentioned, but I can give a general overview of my thoughts. So there are not many parcels of land left in Lafayette. And I also believe in responsible growth. We shouldn't approve every single development that comes before us. We do need to think about it. We need to make sure that any development is balancing the needs of the community and advancing our comprehensive plan. We also need to make sure we have the infrastructure to support any new development. I love our open space. I live within walking distance of Wanaka Lake. I visit it often. And I couldn't imagine a world without our open space. But at the same time, we do have a comprehensive plan and some affordable housing goals that we're hoping to achieve.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
Like everybody else, I need to insert my legalese disclaimer on how I will approach every single problem with an open mind, and I will not, I will be open to the discussion in a quasi-judicial setting. That being said, I mean, how many parking lots do we need at the expense of the paradise that is around us? I mean, this is Indigenous People Day or Columbus Day, depending on which side of history you want to be on. I was wandering around Boulder one time, and there was some random homeless guy came up to me and wanted to talk to me about the curse of Chief Niwot. I was new to the town, I didn't know anything about it, and I think we're living that, right? Like, this is a beautiful area, and because of the beauty, everybody wants to move in, and as more and more people move in and we develop our businesses, we just pave over everything. We have nothing left other than just a concrete canyons and then monuments of glass and steel. Like, let's preserve our green space. Let's keep Lafayette livable, not just for the humans, but also for the animals that call Lafayette home. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ginola.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for the doing the work of the lawyer up here. When I look at developments, I look at what is the community vision for Lafayette? What do we want Lafayette to be? You know, we rewrote our comprehensive plan a few years ago, and that really outlines the plan that the community has for Lafayette. What do we want it to look like in the future? So I think we revisit that when we're on council, and we look at that as kind of our guiding light. For me personally, you know, with sustainability being such an important thing for me, I think the focus on infill, the focus on adaptive reuse, on ways to kind of minimize the energy that is put into developing are the best things that we can do to kind of, from the sustainability standpoint. We also have a land use code that we can dedicate a bigger part of new developments to the public land dedication.
Thank you. Candidate Arrington.
I'm a big open space advocate. As part of LoSAC, I mean, we have been fortunate, and I've been fortunate to be around when we've got to purchase some key parcels of land, including Wanaka Centennial Farm, some of the areas around 119th. We were able to secure a buffer around the parcel of 119th that exists currently to help, you know, keep the edge of town feeling like it's the edge of our town and not kind of blend in with surrounding communities, because we like having, knowing that this is Lafayette, this is not Lafayette. I mean, that's important to me. I think it's important to a lot of people. And open space is always a very thing that ranks highly when you ask residents what they want. It's one of the reasons we're here. I do think with the public land dedication, there are tools already in place to help make sure we can maintain open space and get money to purchase these things. So it's a very high priority. It needs to be in the right place. Not everything needs to be open space, but a very pro open space acquisition and maintaining that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
The open spaces in our town are a big part of why people live here. We love to go for a jog, ride our bikes, walk our dogs. There's a woman on South Boulder who walks her goats sometimes, but that's not particularly open space. But it's not just people that use that space, as we've heard some other folks mention. There's wildlife. There's animals. That's also flora. There's plant life that needs that space and the nutrients that they get from those areas. We have wetlands as well that need to be protected. These things have to be taken seriously. And of course, there is this push and pull, this tension of development that we've heard about that exists. But I don't think we can just cow to large companies and big corporations that want to develop our town and put up big buildings, especially when those are not what the community wants and it's not benefiting the people who live in those neighborhoods.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with candidate Tapia Vega, and we'll do 60 seconds for this question as well. If the bond ballot measure passes this November, there is a small space at the Recreation Center for seniors. What do you envision for the future of the current senior center building?
Amazing. Thank you for the question. So the bond itself is something that I think is an incredibly important topic, and I truly appreciate the fact that we're talking about this in a forum, because I think it's incredibly important. Everything from the service center that our Public Works Department works out of, to this building, and of course to our rec center. I think these are upgrades that are needed for our city, and looking at the building that we're in, these are upgrades that we want to make sure we get to in a proactive manner. Talking about the seniors and the senior center and what we potentially have in our redeveloped rec center, I think it's something that we really need to look at. So as we grow and as we develop into the future, the largest population that is growing exponentially is our older folks. We want to make sure that as a city, we not only have the services that allow them to age in place and to do it and to thrive in place, but we want to make sure that we have the space for them to actually go and be part of these city programs. When we look at the IDEA program that we passed in these last 2 years of my time in city council, that equity, that diversity, that inclusion, but mostly that access is something that we need for all members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Glenn.
Can I get clarity? So it seemed like the question was surrounding what plans are for the update of the rec center, and that they're going to add space for the senior center. And then what are we doing with the current senior center, just to be clear?
I can read the question again. It was
Yeah.
once submitted online, so I don't want to try to interpret. If the bond ballot measure passes this November, there is a small space at the Recreation Center for seniors. What do you envision for the future of the current senior center building?
Well, I can tell you they're somewhat outgrowing that current senior center, which, by the way, a lot of things have already adapted to older adults is the term. The senior advisory board has been already changed to the older adult advisory board. And fun thing is, ever since I've gone to that open house, I've just fallen in love with that group, because guess what? I will be on the hike tomorrow morning, and I've been on several hikes with the older adult group. And I've walked in there and gotten to see Dana, who is phenomenal, who's the director of the senior center, and what she does. She called me to confirm I was going on that hike tomorrow. But if anything, they need more space, I can tell you that. So I don't know the details, but I love the older adult community and have been excited that they've accepted me and hanging out with them as of lately.
Thank you. Candidate Bollier.
Thank you. I'm jealous of the hike you're going on, Rob, so we'll see if I can crash that. A couple things on this one. One, in terms of how to use that space, I would defer to the community that uses it. So I don't think I should decide, but I think I would want to know, what do they want to do with it? Where do they want to go with that? Something I'm really concerned about, particularly given the large population of seniors or older adults that we have in Lafayette, is that we're looking at significant cuts to Medicare and Medicaid coming up in the next couple of years, which will disproportionately affect older folks and disproportionately affect women because women live longer than men. And so thinking about what can City Council do to look around the corner and prepare our town and our senior citizens for resilience as those impacts arise, whether that is investing more in the senior center at the rec center or otherwise. But that's something I think we really need to be very mindful of as a city government. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
So my friend Bob Machen, who's on the Senior Advisory Board, tells me that the Senior Advisory Board has requested that they not have a net decrease in square footage. And they fear that this small space at the new rec center is going to be less space actually than they currently have. So I would like to respect that wish and to say, at least to start, let's look at the programming that's going on in the two locations, and it may be that we need both. And I think that's pretty sort of objective kind of decision. You can look at how space is being programmed and does it sit empty or is it being used, and make a decision based on that. So at this moment, I wouldn't do anything. I would use both and see how it goes.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So I'm not yet an older adult, so I would want to defer to the Older Adult Advisory Board, which is the new name for the Senior Advisory Board, to see what their vision is for that space and how to utilize it. It would be unfair for me to make a decision. Again, we do approach everything thoughtfully on council, but we do look to our advisory boards for a reason. We value their input, and it's very important to this community. I do hope that both spaces remain, because I do see the benefit of programming at both locations, and I hope that continues going forward.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
I mean, what I do is just walk around and talk to the elder members of our community and see what you guys want. I mean, it's not for me to tell you what sort of facilities you should have. You definitely shouldn't lose square footage, especially as all of us are going in that direction. But I think listening is probably the most important part of government, especially in a case where you have a community that I assume knows kind of what sort of services you would want. And I would just listen. On a broader note for the bond measure, I don't like how it's lumped together, the three projects all in one. I don't remotely think this building is at the end of its life. This is a fine building, and I don't want to waste $34 million of taxpayer money to rebuild what already works. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gianola.
Thank you. I agree that we should reach out to our older adult community to see what they want to do with the existing building. In addition to expansion at the rec center, there might also be an opportunity to add services and programming for seniors at the new city hall if that gets developed. So again, I think we should reach out to that group, look what makes sense at the different locations. You know, it would be nice to have something on this side of town and not just on the kind of northern end of Public Road. So, you know, expansion at the new city hall, I think is a good opportunity.
Thank you. Candidate Arrington.
I've seen some of the renderings for the rec center. I mean, I really, broadly with the bond measure and the three buildings, I do wish it would be spread out or would have been spread out potentially, but they are 30, 40, 50-year-old structures. They are at or reaching the end of their useful life. The city was also very different when they were built. I mean, the older population is, several times what it was, so I think it's important for us to kind of push the reset button on that. The city will continue to grow. There's more people that want to be here. I think it is an important resource, so I really don't. I hope that they are getting at least what they had before. I hope that they've evaluated what the population needs are, and they're leaning into that. I think that's critical for us, so I think it's needed. I think we should make sure that, we talk to them, understand what their needs are and what they want to have it programmed with. But I am in favor of all of the bond measure for all of it. I think it needs to happen. I do wish if I could push the rewind button, it'd be spread out, but I think this is our best path forward.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
Of course, listening to any community that's involved in the decision or that's going to be the primary stakeholder in the decision is a crucial element of governing, and I would certainly hope to do that as a member of City Council. But as long as we're given the opportunity to dream, and what programs would we like to see or would we maybe imagine for ourselves if we were older adults? We talked about the arts before. I think keeping the mind and body active are so important. I would love to see things like English classes for speakers of other languages, perhaps Spanish classes for those of us who grew up speaking English. There are opportunities to do lots of cool and fun things. My dad lives in a not specifically older folks area, but they bring in experts on all sorts of different things. He's taken up bonsai, is his big hobby. He spends hours a day doing that and absolutely loves it. So I think there's really cool opportunities to use both spaces.
Thank you. And candidate Ryan.
All right, well, first of all, I can really relate to this question because I'm a senior citizen. So I've been to the existing senior center, and I do think with the new project and the remodel that we need both buildings. We shouldn't close the existing one because as our community grows, everybody's getting older, and I think we need to utilize both areas. And with planning and designing it, I think we should need to speak to Dana at the senior center and the staff to find out exactly what's needed. And if we're keeping both locations, try to be a little versatile on what we design in the new one, so we can have a multi-pronged investment for our elderly in the future.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with candidate Glenn, and the topic is sales tax. Lafayette sales tax is the highest in Boulder County. Do you see this as a problem? Why or why not? And we'll do 1 minute for this question.
Overall, yes, because it's only going to increase more our total taxes when we think about what's coming up with the Boulder County sales tax increases that you see on this ballot, which I think a lot of those are important, those measures. With that said, being somebody who I've been in small business, I've been up in Colorado and understanding, one thing I didn't even really know until recently somebody brought up that was a bookkeeper, that there's websites out there that people search, where can I buy something cheaper from a sales tax standpoint? And that's scary if we're one of the highest sales taxes, because we only want to encourage more transactions here in Lafayette, because that revenue is only going to help our citizens, and we want to encourage more purchasing with our small business here. So overall, I am not in favor of further, hopefully, sales tax increases. We're very high.
Thank you. Candidate Valier.
I think it's a complicated question because of the decision analysis involved. So if you were to level set Lafayette's sales tax with the next highest, I would love to hear from city department staff, what sort of change in services would that lead to? What would the businesses and average spenders, how would that affect them? If the effect is negligible relative to the impact on city services, then I would say, well, let's keep it as is. But if they were to show me, if we were to bring it in line with the rest of Boulder County, yeah, we'd lose out on some tax revenue, but that would be a real burden lift off of our businesses. Then I think that's a decision to explore making. I actually looked this up because Frank brought up this question in the last forum, and the sales tax is the highest in the county, but it's pretty negligible. I know that adds up over the course of a lot of business, but it is pretty negligible. We're not at 15%. So I think taking a step back and asking ourselves, what services does this pay for? Are there areas where we can tighten up? And do we really need to be the highest in the county, or can we bring ourselves in line? Those would be good questions for a future council to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
I believe we are approaching the limits of the sales tax without it becoming an economic problem for us. And I think we have to be careful about increasing it further. But I've spent some time with young people recently, like teenagers, young 20s, who have encouraged me to rethink everything, and who have like things we take for granted and things we've been doing. Maybe we can just think about all of our taxes. Like we have, for example, taxes that are in perpetuity, that maybe their purpose has changed over time, and we still have a dedicated fund for that. So I don't think it is a difficult question, but not an impossible one, and I think it may involve some reassessment of what we've been taxing and how we've been taxing, but I do think we are close to the limit of what we can reasonably do without a problem for us economically.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So this is a tough question. I would say yes, our sales tax is a problem. I know there is a ballot question from the county asking to increase our sales tax to cover a mental health program, which does sound necessary, but should that pass, it would actually bring our sales tax above Denver, which does seem even more problematic to me. I was recently talking to a community member who told me that she likes to grocery shop at the new King Soopers in Firestone or Frederick because they have no sales tax. And since she drives an EV, the price of gas is negligible to her. So I don't want us to become a community where everyone now is doing their grocery shopping elsewhere because they know they can go somewhere else and pay a smaller tax rate.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
Based on what I know about the issue, I would say probably not really a problem. I think the bigger question is whether we are getting our money's worth out of the taxes and services that the city takes in and offers. And from an outsider's perspective, I would say no, we probably need to do a little bit better job managing our budget as a city. That's just based on my experience with various levels of government and various businesses, and there's waste everywhere. And I think the way we solve this is by really getting in touch with our community and asking people what the people want the city to do for them. And we structure our policy and we structure our expenditures based on what people actually want us to do. Listening is the first, foremost, and most important part of government. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gianola.
I struggle with this question because our tax rate really is pretty comparable to, the next highest tax rate. I think it's 0.05% is the difference. The things that drive our tax rate higher than our neighbors are things that Lafayette residents are passionate about. You put a tax on the ballot and it almost always passes. It's kind of surprising. Lafayette residents really care about their community members. They care about open space. The reason that all these taxes are on, that the tax rate is so high is because our citizens have passed them in the past. Is it a problem? I think it's getting pretty high. 9% is pushing, I think, the limits of what people think is normal, but it's not because the citizens aren't passionate about, what we're funding.
Thank you. Candidate Arrington.
Sales tax, I guess I'm going to lean into what he said is, what are we getting from it? People are voting for it. They're approving it. I have voted for most of these things too, and I'm willing to pay it because I feel like the exchange we're getting for our open space legacy fund tax, it allows us to buy that stuff. It provides city services. If we want the bond measure and the rec center and the city hall and the maintenance stuff, we are choosing this. I think it really is more. We need to look at the sales tax generators. Yes, losing King Soopers was a terrible thing. They have terrible sales service. I try not to go there. But people want to be here. People want to spend money in our town, and they're willing to make those choices. So if we need to evaluate what our sales tax is at, I think it is a question to the people again to put it on the ballot if we want to sunset some of these things. So I'd like to view it from a different perspective.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
The sales tax is high. I can see how that is an issue and how it can become more of an issue as we move forward. So it definitely is something to monitor and keep an eye on. And I certainly don't want people to choose to shop elsewhere outside of our city because they can go someplace that doesn't have sales tax. But I would also choose people to shop at our local businesses rather than shopping at King Soopers. If I'm equidistant between 287 and Baseline and 95th and Baseline, I'd rather have people going to Atlas to pick up their things that they need for an evening. Just because they're a local business and supporting local business seems like the way to go. If we have these large companies and corporations that are doing business in our town, I think they should be paying a greater share of the taxes. I would love to see that happen. We have certain goods that do not bear sales tax, as they should not, but that means that we do have flexibility in the way that we implement sales tax, and we need to be creative with it.
Thank you. Candidate Ryant.
Well, I've heard a lot of people complain about Lafayette sales tax, and it is getting high. And as our other candidates said, it's really the community that's voting it in. So, there's going to be items that keep going on ballots because the community wants it. And it's going to be up to our community to vote it down. And I really feel that we need to take it to the community to really find out and speak to them, town hall meetings, to see where they want to be. But if they're voting it in, really, as city council, we just have to facilitate it.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Thank you. So a high sales tax reaching the top of Boulder County and looking at the state, seeing one of the highest sales tax in our city is a problem for a couple different reasons. I will start with Lafayette, at its heart and soul, has our small business community. And as someone who sat on the board of directors of a chamber of commerce, I understand small businesses and I understand minority businesses. I understand how difficult it is for a business to just make it in any city across the Front Range. But an increased tax, an increased sales tax in the long run does hurt our businesses. And we must make an environment in which our businesses can actually survive and also thrive. On top of that, I grew up in this city. I'm a first-generation American. I'm a Latino. I grew up in a low-income community in this city. And sales tax don't just hurt businesses, they hurt our everyday residents. Sales tax, we need to be very, very responsible with how we do sales tax. They have gone to the ballot. They are going to continue going to the ballot for different things. But looking at sales tax, it is too high. It is an issue. It's an issue for our businesses. It's an issue for our residents, and we must be responsible with how we look at this going forward.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll do a minute, and we'll start with candidate Bollier. And the question is, how do you intend to improve pedestrian and cyclist access and safety in our city?
A couple weeks ago, I was lucky enough to go with several of the fellow candidates on a city-led bus tour where we looked at a number of unsafe intersections. The city has really good data mapping where accidents and collisions occur. So one thing, I would love to see that more publicly available. So, when you have a beef with an intersection you feel is unsafe, you can go easily look and see, oh yeah, I'm right, other people are seeing this as well. Another thing that everyone I've talked to in the community who has little kids is very, very empathetic on more protected bike lanes. There's been some really horrific accidents in Boulder County in the past year. So more protected bike lanes to ensure that the kids commuting, that folks on bikes are safe, I think is something we should invest in. I'm also a little bit concerned by the skyrocketing increase of children on e-bikes that can go unbelievably fast. I know this is dangerous for the kids, it's dangerous for cars, it's dangerous for pedestrians. So I think we need to explore an ordinance to bring that in line. I don't know if we need to explore insurance or licensing, but somebody's going to get really hurt, and I want us to get out ahead of that curve. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
Well, this issue has surprised me in that every place I've gone as a candidate, it almost always comes up. People are concerned that our community is not safe. It's a big deal out there. And so I spent some time trying to understand what we're already doing, and I found it really difficult to figure that out. Even as a person with a background in government relations, we have multiple funding sources, we have multiple plans, and trying to figure out if this intersection that you'd like to see a crosswalk at is going to be improved in the next 5 years or so is really, really hard to figure out from the city's website. And I get why that's complicated, but I think we can do better at helping people understand if there's a pipeline and if things are going to get improved. And frankly, we got to put some more money into it. We are not putting enough money into safety, and we have to.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
So I'm a mom of 4 and my youngest child is 6, so I do care deeply about safety. Right now, he does have the ability to walk safely to Wanaka Lake with his older brother, but I don't live near any highways or very busy corridors. I'm also an elementary school teacher, so I care deeply about the safety of our children exiting schools. I think we have done a great job with the Vision Zero Action Plan and the multimodal transportation plan and identifying those areas in need of improvement. And we also have our regional collaborations with Commuting Solutions, the Highway 7 and Highway 287 coalitions, all with the goal of getting safely to work using all different types of transportation. Just one last thing, if you happen to notice a crosswalk light out, please report it to the city through Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Watson.
I mean, this is one of those that I think is just an unbelievably complicated question, because you have multiple people, some on foot, some bicycle, some on road, in cars, and everybody's trying to share the road. And it's a hard problem to answer because it's genuinely a hard problem. some of that, I think there's kind of a knee-jerk reaction that a lot of people have that we need to prioritize pedestrian bike traffic, and I'm entirely in favor of putting bike and pedestrian corridors through the city. But there's also some things, like there's a few of the crosswalks that had really serious accidents last year or earlier this year over near Indian Peaks, where you could go there. There's no business, there's no reason why a crosswalk should be there. Like you have like 3 roads going down into one road and a train track ahead and rush hour traffic. And like that's an accident waiting to happen. And that's on like the city for not really properly looking at that, analyzing it, and being like, whoa, there's just too much happening here. And people are driving to work, they're distracted, they're listening to their radio show, and like something's gonna happen.
Thank you. Candidate Gianola.
Thank you. I do think we need to focus on more protected bike lanes and multi-use paths and trails. You know, most of our neighborhoods are accessible by trail or have trail access, but not all of them. We should be able to walk from one neighborhood to another without having to walk along a major road. And that just isn't the case right now for every single one of our neighborhoods. So I'd love to see our trail system just expanded. I also do have a bee in my bonnet about the e-bike situation in town. I see it less in Lafayette. More of our neighbors in Erie and Louisville seem to have a bigger problem than we have, but it is concerning. I walk on the Coal Creek Trail and there's a giant sign that says no motorized vehicles, and I pull my hair out when a kid buzzes by me at 25, 30 miles an hour. I think that the Parks Department has some speedometer or radar guns that they're starting to use, so I'm excited to see some changes coming to safety on our trails.
Thank you. Candidate Arrington.
I think one of the ways that we can improve, bike and pedestrian, safety is, our trails and our connectivity. We actually do have really great connectivity. There's an app that shows you how you can get to various trails in neighboring communities from ours, because most of the people are, not just in Lafayette. They are, going across. They're in part of the county. They're, some of them are commuting to work. So I do think the city is doing, in the open space, is doing really good at that. I think they continue to strive to add more connectivity and, just connect the dots there. I do think, e-bikes, yes, that's, my daughter has one. She's proven that she's safe on it, but, open space trails, they want to, they want to have speed limits. They want to have it treated like that. They want to enforce that. They, actually found that people on regular bikes are actually moving faster than a lot of the e-bikes on average. So it's an interesting kind of twist, but, we want people to be able to be outside, use our trails and open space, and, feel free not to just get in a car and drive around. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Barrel.
We have questions of access and we have questions of safety. It's a lot to tackle in 60 seconds, but I'm going to go for it. I would love to see more underpasses in some of these high traffic areas, also protected bike lanes, specifically in high traffic areas. I was reading an op-ed today about self-absorbed drivers. Maybe the word was narcissistic that was used there, and I fear that that's only going to get worse as time goes on. I think in terms of bicycle regulations, including e-bikes, I do have regular old cyclists flying by me when I'm out for a jog with the dog or whatever, and it's somewhat horrifying. Every now and then someone says on your left, which I do appreciate. But regulations and enforcement aren't going to cut it. Unfortunately, I just don't think giving tickets to people who are speeding on the multi-use trails is going to be enough. We have to educate folks. We have to educate parents. We have to educate kids. We can have fun programs. Maybe we can pay for some Denver Broncos to come and demonstrate what it's like to wear a helmet. We had something called Safety Town where I grew up, where you got to sort of like play a pedestrian, play a bicyclist, play a car driver, and learn that way.
Thank you. Candidate Ryan.
Well, the first thing I would do, since I'm very hands-on, is get on my bike and ride all the paths and trails and see where the problems are firsthand. And then identify it, put it on the website, and let the community know and get feedback from them. I think that's really important. I would also ask my fellow councilmen to join me on the bike ride now. But I would do that. And about the e-bikes that are like supercharged, the police are addressing it, because I've spoken to them recently, and they are monitoring Wanaka Lake, which has a lot of speeding by e-bikes on there, and it is a little dangerous. So they are taking the radar gun and issuing tickets if they catch you. And they have actually taken some of these bikes and confiscated them and contacted the parents to make sure that this is illegal and they're aware of it, because a lot of parents aren't. They talk to the kid and say, hey, yeah, buy this, Dad.
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Thank you. So there's a few moving things here for me. First and foremost, we can talk about the trails in our city. And I hear it all the time about e-bikes coming down 30, 40 miles an hour on the trail, and there's someone walking by, and unfortunately they get into an accident or very near miss. And this is something that we have started looking at as a city council. We, of course, implemented a speed limit within our trails, and something that followed suit. A lot of municipalities around the region also did this after we did, because it's something that we really need. But if we look at pedestrian and bike safety just around the city, I think the city's done an incredible job in our multimodal approach. If you go down South Boulder Road, you'll see the protected bike lanes and the expanded sidewalks. This is something that we need citywide. On top of that, Councilor Gallegos talked about the Vision Zero. This is something that I'm really, really proud of that we finally implemented here in our city. That's going to not just allow for pedestrian and cyclist safety, but just driver safety as a whole. But to me, this is something that's incredibly concerning. This is something we need to keep working on, and it's something that I've worked on for the last 2 years, and I will continue to work on in my time on council. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Glenn.
Yeah, one of the things I'd say when looking where to live in Lafayette, and I'm privileged on, is living in Old Town. The beauty of that is I love the ability of just, especially back in the day, I worked a lot of hours, and on the weekends, it was just great to park my car and know I could accessibly get everything I could imagine by either walking or biking within a 5-minute distance. Which if anybody ever wants to meet at East Simpson or the Red Queen or one of those little coffee shops, I love walking to them. And getting my exercise, whether it's snowing or raining or not. With that said, there is opportunities to improve. As Kyle mentioned earlier, we'd gotten some great education when we went on that city bus tour, which everybody, citizen-wise, if they were available, was invited up to a limited amount of spots, but it gave us information that they are working on a lot of things, but I do think there's opportunity for communication and transparency of what those projects are and why those are the priorities in the order they are. So that's where I think we have opportunity in going forward in budgeting and improving our walkways and biking.
Thank you. Well, we've got about just a little over 10 minutes left. So last question, and we'll start in reverse ballot order, starting with candidate Watson and go this way. The question is, oftentimes, council members are focused on timely issues that need immediate response. What is one big picture, long-term element of your vision for Lafayette? And if elected, how would you work to make it happen?
I mean, the environment, obviously. I think that's probably the most pressing issue that faces humanity right now. But I think that how we solve that is kind of the more important question, because how we solve the environment, how the issue with the environment, I think leads into a lot of the ways that we can solve other problems as well. And the way we solve the environment, like the sustainability issue of the city, is by trying to get more people involved in protecting it. We are the first line of defense for any development project, for any time we're dealing with concerns with development versus environment. It is our citizenry that is kind of the first step of protecting the environment. And yeah, just mobilizing people, getting people comfortable getting in front of city council and voicing your opinion, getting city council out of these chambers, getting us off the dais down here, getting us out round table in the middle of the room, just out in the community.
Thank you. Candidate Gallegos.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Oftentimes, council members are focused on timely issues that need immediate response. What is one big picture, long-term element of your vision for Lafayette? And if elected, how would you work to make it happen?
So as far as the immediate response part of that question, something that I'm passionate about is accessibility. I encourage everyone in the community to reach out to me either by phone or by email. My phone number is posted publicly. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I had the opportunity to meet someone in the middle of the night when they were experiencing a noise complaint because I wanted to experience what they were experiencing at that level. And I will work tirelessly for this community and will reach out to whoever I need to reach out to make something happen. I also am conversational, not fluent in 4 languages. So if that is something you are concerned about, I will use whatever language skills I have to work with you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
Well, I hate to repeat, but I think sustainability is key. And I wrote down 3 categories. Water, I think we can help people get rid of their bluegrass lawns and replace them with other things. And I've done that and I learned some things. I also have solar and a heat pump system and learned some things from doing that. But also, you mentioned it in the bicycle, we have too many gaps that make it hard for people not to use their car. Either in the bike or the pedestrian path, or for safety reasons, they choose to take their car. I know I take my car to a place I go frequently because there's no safe crosswalk to get there. And I get in my car because I can't get there without feeling I'm going to get hit. So I think all of those are part of sustainability, and I think there's some things I can be proactive on all of those things.
Thank you. And Candidate Bollier.
I think a long-term project really is increasing our investment in solar energy. And I say that cognizant that this is a weird time in our country and the state and federal benefits on solar are disappearing. My wife and I were lucky enough to put solar on this year, and the city didn't make it easy on us, and Excel Energy didn't make it easy on us. And so the degree to which we can help folks, particularly in this time where funding credits are declining, make it easier with permitting, really encourage, oh, you want to do this kind of development, you got to put solar panels, and just kind of require that, because energy costs, I'm sure we've all seen this, are going up. And with the artificial intelligence data centers that are being built all around the country, those are going to eat up a lot of energy at the same time as hopefully our fuel combustion vehicle fleet will be transitioning to electric in the next 10, 20 years. So we're going to need more energy there, which I think dovetails very nicely with Anne Marie's point on transit, right? Bus rapid transit. If we're able to have buses moving throughout the region that are electrical, that gets more people out of cars, that gets more people in rapid transit, and we have the electrical infrastructure ahead of time rather than waiting till the technology arrives. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Glenn.
Yeah, if I had to look at a long-term, large issue that is kind of in front of us right now, is our opportunity of renewing and preserving. And that goes into covering sustainability, but then also using the spaces we already have to be filled, whether commercially or residentially, and how that redevelopment works for the community. But what it's going to do is bring amenities that we all seek more of. We have great restaurants and retail here, but there's still opportunity for more, especially as we're growing. We've grown a lot in the last decade when it comes down to population and those needs. With that said, getting into sustainability, when you're redeveloping, renewing, as you would already know, we're not bringing in new resources to achieve that. And then you also brought up water, which I think is crucial. Is there the opportunities of exploring incentives around more xeriscaping, less irrigation use, and preserving our water for the long haul?
Thank you. Candidate Tapia Vega.
Thank you so much. So long-term, what I really want to build is a resilient Lafayette. There's a few different aspects that go into that. Obviously, a few of the members of this dais have already spoken about the sustainability, and we want to build a sustainable city going into our future, going into the future of climate change. There's a few other things here for me is affordability and access to city programs citywide for all our residents, and of course affordability. I've spoken about affordability a little bit tonight, and I only have a few more seconds left, so I won't get into it too much, but just building an affordable city that fits our residents across the board. Further, a welcoming and inclusive city. Today, we all love the city of Lafayette, and we do because of the people that currently live here, the cultures that kind of come here, mix, and build a beautiful, beautiful city that we all love. The community is the way it is because of the people who currently live here. We want to make sure that that city is resilient towards the future and fits the needs of not only the residents of today, because yes, we are talking about the immediate response to issues, but the Lafayette of 30 years, 40 years, and 50 years down the road. So for me, it's just building a resilient Lafayette.
Thank you. Candidate Ryan.
Well, I think the town's long-term vision is the Action Climate Plan, which was established last year in Lafayette. It covers 7 different areas, which a lot of the candidates have mentioned before, such as transportation, water, recycling. All those are areas which long-range need to be followed through because it's for our next generation. But I also feel what's very important is being fiscally responsible with our money for the community, because we can't waste money. We can't put it in programs that aren't effective. And it's important because we pay a lot of tax dollars in. So we want to make sure it's very useful and put in the right spot. And that's where my strength of being fiscally responsible will help.
Thank you. Candidate Barrow.
Thank you. This is short-term and long-term. One of the things that has prompted me to run for city council and is extremely important to me is that everybody who lives here in Lafayette feels safe, literally. I don't want people to fear getting taken out of their homes in the middle of the night, getting picked up off the street. I don't want people who are unhoused and living here or passing through to be fearful of themselves getting picked up off the street. I would love to see a shelter for unhoused people, mutual aid programs, as opposed to criminalizing those folks. I would love to see an anti-discrimination ordinance or laws for LGBTQ plus, IA plus folks. The laws that we pass say a lot about what we care about as a community and suggest our values, and I think that goes a long way to helping people feel safe here. I want to support our fire department. They need money for FTE. Only one of the firefighters, full-time firefighters, can actually live here, and I would love to, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Arrington.
I mean, long-term and big picture, I mean, I think it really is the character of our city. I mean, you know, we you know, what defines Lafayette. I mean, it's the reason that, you know, 10-ish years ago I moved here, and I'm kind of thinking about what's going to happen in the next 10-plus years, because development along Arapahoe and Baseline, I mean, you know, 119, that is really going to start to define what Lafayette is and, you know, what we feel our community stands for. You know, I think some of the things we talked about was our art focus. I mean, our downtown. I mean, that you can't manufacture that. That, you know, it's the culture that's here, and we want to keep that going. We don't want to be just a, you know, Disneyland or made up kind of area. We have history here. We want people to experience that. So, I mean, you know, our open space and wildlife. I mean, it is the character that defines our city, and I want 10 years from now to still feel like I did 10 years ago when I moved here.
Thank you. And Candidate Gianola.
Thank you. I mean, I think Councilor Tapia Vega said it best, that developing a resilient Lafayette is what we need to focus on. Yes, we have to adapt to a changing climate, but we also have to adapt to a changing economy. With respect to climate, you know, we can't control climate change just by the work that we do in Lafayette. So we really do need to adapt. We need to increase our protective buffers against fire. We need to plan for water long-term. We need to address heat island effects. With respect to a changing economy, we need to think about bringing wages up for our essential workers. We need to think about how can we help our small businesses survive a downturn. There are things that we can do as a community to come together and survive these crises and grow as a community.
Thank you. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.
That's the end of the forum. Questions? Went fast, didn't it?
Thank you.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters and Sister Carmen Community Center, I would like to thank our candidates not only for their participation in tonight's forum, but also for their participation in the democratic process. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We all need to get engaged in order to promote and protect our democratic processes. Registering to vote, researching candidates and ballot issues, and filling out that ballot should all be in our mailboxes now, are important steps. For more information about the upcoming election and the candidates, please go to the League's premier voter information guide, vote411.org. Thank you to our forum volunteers for all of your help. And a huge thank you to our 2025 election sponsors, Elevations Credit Union, Inspire Salon and Skin of Longmont, Christina's Luxuries, and Kaplan and Ernest Attorneys at Law. A short and sweet reminder that donations to the League of Women Voters of Boulder County help us continue our nonpartisan education and advocacy in the community. Members are at our table outside in the hall as you leave, ready to accept your donations via Tap to Pay. And if you're looking for an opportunity to work with other fantastic people dedicated to voter education and service and protecting our democratic process, please join us. Thank you all again for coming. Have a good evening. And as we adjourn, please join me in a big round of applause for all our candidates. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.